immersion trips. But I start this afternoon by acknowledging the land that we're on, the Wiradjuri people. I pay respects to their leaders past, present and emerging. And we teach our students and we encourage everyone to tread lightly on the land that we're on. And we know we're looking after it for future generations. I'd also like to start this afternoon with our school prayer, and you'll see in our school prayer it features our 5 C's. It was written by our staff nearly a decade ago now. As I said, you'll see in the highlight there the 5 C's that we encourage all students to live through, starting in Year 7 with our Year 7 camp, which is coming up very soon. I'll talk about later. So please join me in doing the sign of the cross. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Loving God, you have called to us to be people, to be your people, and to be courageous, challenged, compassionate, collaborative, and Christ-like. As we grow in wisdom and love each day in our Xavier High School community, help us to put learning first as we strive to be our best selves. May we follow the example of our founders and be inspired by Jesus, who is the greatest teacher, always knowing that the truth will set you free. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. It also features, I should have said this at the start, but our 2 founding charisms, the Christian Brothers and the Mercy Sisters, and our school motto, all rolled into the one prayer. It's a beautiful prayer. So I'll roll on straight with Year 7 camp. Or no? Going back to Gav. I'm excited.
Thanks, Heath. And just as we start, I'm going to introduce our speakers tonight. So I'm going to ask Sinead Kilroy, who's our Director of Student Wellbeing, to just stand up, give us a bit of a wave, and she'll be talking to you very soon. Heath, I've already introduced, so we won't give him any more airtime. And Eamon Buckley, who's our Assistant Principal at Xavier High School. So we might give him a quick round of applause to G them up tonight. Look, tonight the purpose is basically just an opportunity to touch base to see how things are going with your son or daughter, or both. And just to update you on just some pieces of information just as the year progresses. Probably important part will be the Year 7 camp and some information around that. But for us tonight, there's an opportunity for any questions that you may have. And you can ask them publicly if you want, or there'll be time at the end if you need anything to be clarified. So we're just going to go through the information quite quickly, okay? And I'll be watching to see if any people are starting to nod off, which will be my sign to wind things up a little bit and keep it moving along. Just the last thing I want to say before we hand it over to Heath about Year 7 camp. Just on the front there, we've got Liam Plunkett that was our Ducks of 2022 with an ATAR of 99.2. But the thing that really excites me about last year's HSC group is overall our results I thought were outstanding. They were just amazing, and more so from what we call learning growth. It was the kids that grew in their learning over the time, and particularly when we look at Year 9, we look at Year 9 NAPLAN through to their HSC, and we make some judgments. Well, we don't. A guy called John DeCourcy in Sydney makes those judgments for all Catholic schools in New South Wales about how we grew as a school and grew our students. And that's the thing that amazed me and made me so proud as principal about that growth. And I think that that's something that we do really well here at Xavier. Now, I realise that your son or daughter is only in Year 7 and starting that journey, but that's something that we see as really important. It's great to have fantastic results, but it's that learning growth for each and every individual that really is important to us. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Heath now. Let's give him another round of applause. And Year 7 camp. Thanks, Heath.
I'm going to take questions at the very end. I've just asked Bucks about that, but we will take questions at the end. I'm going to give you some information, show you a quick video about Year 7 camp, and then a few of my hot tips for your child to have a great camp. And we'll start off with here. The reason why this is a highlight for us, and it's taking off next Wednesday. I'll take this opportunity to get the times as well. Next Wednesday, 7 o'clock at the back car park there in the buses. We're going to arrive at Harrietville at 9 o'clock for 3 days of fun and growth and formation. There's a big thing. I'm taking 187 Year 7 kids on camp for 3 days, 18 teachers, 30 Year 10 students that will help with the leadership and supporting your Year 7 kids. And it's been a fantastic event on our school calendar, and it was an awesome trip last year, and it's going to be just as good this year. The reasons why we do it, we wrapped it down to about these 5 sort of points here. It's all about them building relationships. It's all about that outdoor learning. They get a chance to really cooperate with each other, collaborate with each other, and get outdoors. Bike riding, kayaking, raft building. We look at these activities, as you'll see in the video, and they're all there for a purpose. It's not just random things that are going off to have fun for 3 days. They're in the little peer support groups that they've been working with all term. That's a big thing for us. So they're not going to random groups where they don't know people, which alleviates their anxiety. And that goes in with that confidence building. Educational opportunities, of course, and once again, our faith formation. Father Martin will accompany us for a day and a half, and then we'll have our other leaders coming up for most of the days for the rest of the camp. And Father Martin runs a mass on the Wednesday night for all the Year 7 students, which they will be a part of. They will actually run, design, and create themselves, which is a great little thing. So I wrote there, overall, Year 7 camp can be an important experience for students, providing opportunities for personal growth and learning that can have a positive impact. Well, not that it can, it will have a positive impact on their academic and social life. They'll come out of this a lot more confident and a lot more stronger in doing things. Now, before I show the video, I will preface it with this. We understand as a team fully that this year group, in particular, through COVID and so on, has not had the camps, or may not have had the camps that previous years have had, nor the experiences of staying over at other people's houses. And we're fielding a lot of emails, phone calls, and just concerns about that. And we're working through it, and we're spending a lot of time with that with our homeroom teachers, our house coordinators, and myself. Been going around in my spare time and going and seeing kids, sitting down with them, having a talk with them. So if your student is feeling, your child is feeling anxious, please let us know, and we'll go and have a conversation with them and start that journey with them so they're confident to partake in the Year 7 camp. Let's have a look at the fun that they do have.
The big swing was lots of fun. You were clipped to a rope like that, to 3. You'd pull a little string and you'd let go and you'd go flying. It was so much fun.
Some of the activities that we've done are the high ropes, kayaking, and the leap of faith, all things that we all got through together as a team.
We're here at the Harriettville camp for Year 7 and we're about to have a lot of fun going mountain biking. My favourite part so far has been the giant swing and leap of faith. It really challenged us all and we're excited to have more good fun.
go on a trip we're doing right now. It's really fun.
So as you can see, it's a very fun trip, and it's designed to have all those challenges, as I said, and challenge your child wherever they are. And as I said before, we understand that challenge may be just the fact that they're going on the trip itself and sleeping in rooms full of big groups of people as well. So my big tip for this is our mobile phones. Yes, they are allowed to come on the trip. They're not recommended. If they can stay at home, they can stay at home, but trying to ban them completely does alleviate the anxiety of some of our kids. So we're going to allow you to be contactable, of course, but they're not going to be allowed to take them on the activities during the day. They'll be given time at night time or in the morning to contact you as a family or and check in and so on and so forth. Please label the clothing. I know that's you probably heard that 1,000 times before, but last year even I came home with a bag of clothes and I was like, what is this? I don't know. I think I took the instructor's shoes home as well. So please label the clothing, because they bring 3 pairs of wet shoes or whatever it is, and I end up with a bag of them. A drink bottle is going to be hot. The rooming is we've been working on it for a week. We're still adjusting. We can do slight changes when we're there, but we've taken the 3 requests of your child into consideration, and they will be getting all 3 of those students that they requested. So they're in a room of at least 8 to 9 kids, and they'll get those 3 kids that they requested. And food, I'm glad they showed the food on the video. Because it is fantastic. They'll get choices, at least 2 choices every meal. We made sure, and there's plenty of it, they're not going to starve. And that's it. I've taken 7 minutes. I had 4 minutes. I'm sorry, Gav. And I'll take questions at the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heath. So as Gav alluded to, really the purpose of tonight is a check-in. Okay. We're conscious that you've would have been part of a year six process coming into the school, but we really wanted also to use this as a bit of an update. And the feedback we're getting from teachers so far is outstanding. Your sons and daughters as a year level have really set a high benchmark. I had a young teacher who is second year out yesterday, and I made them put it in an email for me, waxing lyrical about the politeness, the preparedness for these young people to go out of their comfort zone already, 5 weeks in. Their willingness to ask questions, to be working with each other, but also just the level of, I'll use the word respect, but this willingness to build positive relationships. We're already seeing that. So we're really wrapped, and we wanted you to know that. And that's truthful. Okay? Your sons and daughters have come here and embraced very quickly what we want to be, what we're trying to be. And that's the truth. So that's really important you know that. But also we're getting great feedback from you, and Heath alluded to it. You know, your communication with us so far has been outstanding. A lot of you have been on the front foot, and I know not every parent's here, but things like the camp, asking the questions that or alerting us to things that we need to know. There's nothing worse than going on a school camp and a couple of hours in finding out something that we didn't know about a child. So having that information has been really good. It's made it really smooth, I know, for Heath and our house coordinators and homeroom mentors to start engaging in some conversations that will get a young person over the line if they're anxious. So we want to thank you for that as well. But so far, so good. We're really wrapped, really wrapped. What we have noticed too is our young, some of your sons and daughters, their willingness to embrace some of our students that have got learning needs. Sometimes that can be really difficult for a young person coming in that may have some challenges. This year level so far, they're working with each other. We've noticed that. We're getting feedback about that in class, that students are helping each other out. So that's important to know as well. So just a little bit, and you would have heard some of this before, but just some reminders around how we structure up here at Xavier. We've got 8 houses. Okay, they lay the foundation for all that we do here at Xavier High School. So it's not only our things like our swimming carnivals, but today we ran our house Ash Wednesday liturgies, and it was fantastic. Feedback we're getting from that is brilliant. And within that, you've got a house coordinator who is a person that oversees our young people in the house. And they're responsible for implementing pastoral programs and all that, and dealing with things when it gets to the pointy end. But what we're trying to instill in our parent culture here is this homeroom mentor. That's your first port of call. If you have any issues or concerns or questions, we want this person to be your go-to. The idea that they get to form a relationship with you, but ultimately it's about them forming a relationship with your child or children. Okay? Getting to know them first as a person, number one. That's what we tell our homeroom mentors, the adults, is to get to know the young person first. Then the learning will follow. So the idea that they're on the journey, it's an advocacy role for your son or daughter's time here at Xavier. Right? The first port of call to help you get your child to where they need to be. Whether that's HSC, whether it's a different pathway. You're there for your child. We do that in a lot of ways, supported through things what we call learning conversations. And part of the learning conversation is, as I alluded to, is just getting to know your child first. What are their interests? What are their fears? What are they excited about? Where do they see themselves in the future? So that's a real part of it. We want you to understand that. We want you to embrace that. The homeroom mentor is your first port of call. Can I get a show of hands? Some of you by now should have had a phone call. Yeah, not yet. No, I've not yet. Got a couple. Yeah. So some of the homeroom mentors across, I think it was back end of last week, but over the next fortnight you'll get phone calls. Okay, and really that's just them introducing themselves, getting to know you, again offering that level of support that we're here for you to as a conduit. So within our structure, every Thursday now, period 2 in the morning, we have our what we call extended homeroom. That used to be on a Tuesday afternoon, but we felt that was a bit of a slog sometimes for young people. At the end of the day, it was also impacting on the things we could do. We felt mornings better because what we want to do is we want to go into this community building space, this sense of community, and mornings are a really good opportunity to do that because you can do things like shared breakfast. It just opens it up, leading into recess, a bit more time for us to do that community building stuff. So that's something that's developing over the course of the year. So you may find where the house of your child is, there'll be a note go home that there's going to be a shared breakfast on a certain date, and there may be an opportunity to bring stuff in and contribute. Within that time frame, we also do a SEL, social emotional learning program, in particular built around things like resilience building. Okay, understanding that we're all on journeys together. Within that, we also offer this, because it's vertical, so it's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 within each homeroom, peer-to-peer mentoring opportunities as well. Heath alluded to that as well earlier, where our student leaders today ran our liturgies. Wasn't adult voice at all. So it was pretty special to see young people getting up and running a liturgy that went for about 45 minutes. So that's really important in their growth as well. Sinead, I think. Yeah, so Sinead, I want to introduce you to Sinead again. Sinead's just going to talk about attendance and its importance. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so with our learning mentor program in the morning, the first point of contact is the homeroom mentor. So they engage with the conversations, what's happened the night before, what are you interested in today, how's your day looking, etc., etc. So it's a real sort of sense of wellbeing check-in. Part of that role also in a post-COVID era is attendance and just making sure that we're aware of the effects if we're not at school, how that can have a knock-on effect. So just to give a reference point, if a student misses an hour a week, that's 10 hours a term, and that's 40 hours a year, which is 5 days, and that can just accumulate really quickly. So just being aware that if you can make contact with the house coordinator or homeroom tutor so that we're aware if there's anything that's happening for you, and we put support plans in place and so forth. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to talk about is mobile phones. And mobile phones, of course, I have a daughter in Year 7 as well, and it's all very new and very exciting. So just, we have a very educative approach to our mobile phone policy. So when they're in the classroom, they're in a basket. at the front of the room, and it's the teacher's discretion whether they're used or not. So might be mapping exercises, or I know in Year 7 English they have a filming component, so they can be used, okay, but that's up to the teacher. At recess and lunchtime, they are in the lockers. They may pay for things at the canteen, but then they go back into the lockers. So we really just want to encourage students to be interacting, playing sports, communicating with each other through face-to-face contact. And we're taking an educative approach in terms of our Year 10 leaders who are working with our Year 7 students as well. So there's that peer mentoring around that. And we also have the New South Wales Police come in and talk about the legalities as well. So that's, we figured that question would certainly come out, but that's our approach. And so far, so good. It's working really effectively.
I'm going to speak on behalf of Shane Piper, our Leader of Teaching and Learning, who's absent tonight. But just a snapshot of what's been going on, in particular with our Xavier program and other subjects across the first few weeks. So some of you may remember App Xavier program is a program run here that has a real focus on literacy. Okay, and it's as you can see there, it's a combination of the English, humanities and the religion across the 18 periods within our 10-day cycle. And at the moment, our young people, through their English teachers and their humanities and their RE teachers, have been focusing on words. So they're pulling together a lot of word banks associated with the things they've been studying. So it's around vocab building. Okay? The technical stuff will start to happen later this term. So that's where, I'm not an expert, okay, but that's where our English teachers will be really honing in on some specifics around literacy. That's backed by data. Okay, some PAT testing that we've been doing to help our young people with literacy. Literacy is the key. Okay, if you can get your literacy right, other things will start to flow, you would hope. Okay? We also begin within these subjects, with all subjects, there's 10 minutes reading. Okay? The accumulative number of that across the year is we're hoping will also improve our literacy skills, vocab. The more you read, the more you're exposed to words. Building, building, building. So that's the goal. Our Xavier program. Other subjects across Year 7 also is your maths, your sciences, performing arts, you've got your PEs, techs. And some of the feedback we've been getting from the kids is they're really loving the tech subjects, the hands-on stuff too. Perhaps in primary school you're limited, can be very limited in that space. So certainly some of our, some boys I was talking to are flying with that and loving it. Also science at Year 7 is also deliberately fairly hands-on, lots of little experiments. And I know there was a class the other day that had 4 different experiments going on that they had to rotate through. And again, the kids waxing lyrical about, this is great. Getting away from the textbooks, yeah, that's important. You've got to do it, of course. But then being able to apply that learning very quickly. Rather than 3 or 4 weeks of theory, it's theory, prac, into it. Getting that experience. And Gav's given me the wind up, so I get excited about this. So I'm going to hand back quickly to Gav. And then I think we're going to hear from Nick.
I could see a couple of people starting to close their eyes, so I thought, look, we better save you all. Before I hand it over to Nick, though, I do want to say that particularly with our Xavier program, we've got some data that we've been looking at. It's been 10 years since it started, but since our first Year 7 group went through, when they've come through as HSC graduates in the last 3 to 4 years, but in terms of learning growth, we've moved a significant way across into what we call our top quadrant. So it's been we think a real key part in building that literacy, as Eamon talked about, and helping our kids grow and develop across a whole range of subjects. But that's it from me. I'm going to hand it over to Nick. Nick's our manager of IT in the school. I'm sure there's another part of the title that I've forgotten. But Nick's just going to talk you through a couple of the programs around Compass, around Schoology, just so that some of you may be familiar with that already, but just so that you can access and help not only information that's coming out from the school, but also your son or daughter's learning. So let's give Nick a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you, Gavin. Yeah, look, really the purpose here tonight isn't so much to educate you on how to use these tools. I think many of you may be familiar with some of them anyway. but it's to give you an understanding of how these tools will support exactly what these guys have been talking about and creating pathways for the communication, getting information, sharing back with us information, whether it's dietary requirements for the excursion, the camp, whether it's attendance notifications, or whether it's insight into the learning and teaching in the classroom, which is Schoology, and I'll get to shortly. So effectively, it's two systems we used for this, and you've probably heard the names before. Compass is the main system, student information system. It'll do the bulk of things, and I'll go over that. And then Schoology is the classroom tool, the learning management system. And we haven't issued our Year 7 access to that system yet. That's timed for week 8 of this term, and that's deliberately to let camps and things settle down, have content in there, and it actually coincides with the interim reporting that will take place as well. So, if you need extra support, if you're looking for some guides on how to use these systems, on our website, you'll see up the top is a shortcuts button. Under that shortcut, there's a link to Schoology. There's also a link to our parent Compass guide as well. So that would be the first point of call if you're having troubles with these systems or you want to find out more information. But really, I'm just going to give you some idea of which system to go to for what is basically the purpose of tonight from my perspective. So we've touched on it already, attendance notes. If your child's late, not going to be absent, this is where you explain and communicate that absence through the Compass app on your phone. Schedule or timetable, as you would hear your kids speaking to it. As parents, you can go in and see what they've got on for the day, what classes they have for that day, whether they're going to be in PE and need prac gear, whether there's a liturgy on this afternoon instead of the actual period 5 class. All of that you'll see through. The schedule is the terminology you'll see in Compass. Timetable is probably what you hear us refer to it as. End of semester reports will be made available in there at the end of each semester. Newsfeed, so any of these events and notice of upcoming things is all communicated through there, and as a parent you get your own newsfeed that you'll get relevant information tailored to your child's year level here at school. A big one, parent-teacher-student conferences or interviews. Again, conferences is Compass language, interviews is the language you're probably more familiar with, but that's where you'll book those. Now, one of the key things I take the time to remind you of when you're doing that, you might have done it in primary schools and you book with one teacher, maybe 2 kids, one, 2 teachers. You're at high school now, so you'll be booking up to 5, 6 different teachers, potentially for 2 or 3 different kids. Don't try and do it on your phone. It's too hard. Jump in on your computer, you get a much better view, it's much easier to do. So that one tip for booking those. And again, they'll be made available in week 8. So that will coincide with an email that gives you access to Schoology, offers some further support sessions in that space, and you'll be able to make those appointments. The final one is the event and excursion consent is done through there. And I'm just going to very quickly walk you through, because I have been told there's a couple of parents who had some difficulties in this space with the Year 7 camp in particular. So I'm just going to show you some screenshots of what it should look like on your phone. And if you're not seeing that, I'm around after this. Come up and see me and we can walk through it and solve it together. So when you log in, you should see a little more icon down the bottom. If you tap on that, then you get a page where you can go to events. So you go to the more than events, then you'll see the event. And then once you're in the event, there's a bit of scrolling to do there. You'll scroll through the information that tells you start times, all of that sort of stuff. Then at the bottom, you get to the dietary requirement question, which isn't mandatory, but if your child has any dietary requirements, you fill that out. And then the final step at the bottom of the page is the consent. Now, the button doesn't go green until you type your name in that box that you'll see circled in red on the right-hand side. Once you put your name in there and it's happy, it goes green, and it's that pressing of the green button that actually submits the consent and ensures that all your dietary information has gone through properly. That's the basic process. Now, very quickly, Schoology. This is just an overview because we will be running detailed sessions for all of those of you who are new. and those of you who want a refresher in that week 8 period when we've given out the access codes. But just so you get some idea of what's in this space and what to look out for. Every subject your child does will have a class or a presence in Schoology. And that's where interim reports are done, but it's also where any of the digital material for that classroom is presented and shared with the child. And as parents, you are invited to look in and see that information as well. You see what your child sees in that space. You'll also see any upcoming assessments and assignments. And again, because we're not a no homework policy at the beginning of term 1 for year 7, it hasn't been essential for you to be in this space yet, but this will be your go-to point when your child comes home and says, oh, I've got no homework, I've got no assessments. You'll be able to log straight in there and see, well, what about that maths test tomorrow? Or what about that RE assignment that's due in next week? Have you done that? You'll have access to all of this. And you'll also get the ongoing feedback. So it won't just be interim reports, but you may watch your child slave away and do this assignment and put in a whole heap of effort. You'll be able to directly go in there and see the feedback that the teacher's providing and see the effort and the results of their hard work in that space. So you're in there, as a colleague of mine described it, you're their eyes and ears. You can see and hear what they hear in that space. If Mr. Neville, if Heath asks them to bring calculators to the next lesson or do something, he'll be communicating it in that there. You'll see, oh, this has changed, or that's, and we're inviting you, encouraging you to be part of that communication with us and have that feedback. So that's it for me. I'll hand back to Gavin.
And just to clarify, Nick, parents will be able to access even the learning materials that the students. So if you're in Heath's super exciting Year 7 RE class, you'll be able to go in as a parent and see all the learning materials that are there, what's going on for the day, what the videos are, what the question sheet is, and what the tasks are. So you'll have full access to that. So look, I think we're going pretty well time-wise, so we're going to open it up to questions. If anyone would like to ask, I know it's always hard in front of a crowd. We will be here afterwards so that you, if you want to clarify or seek some further information, we'll be here. And if you have got kids on, I know we've got a few families here who've got kids who are already in older years and you need to go, then you can. But I'm happy to take questions. Marita. So,
that things at a school that we're running, that would be automatic. Yep. So, for example, we've got I think it's senior boys or intermediate boys cricket team that have gone away. That's automatically generated, so parents don't have to worry about ringing us and letting us know. So certain things are just automatic.
They'll also will have given, there'd be a permission form that would have gone out that would have, yep.
It'll show on the schedule. So instead of the timetable, all their classes will be cancelled and that event will be in there as the active event. So you'll see it under that. Compass calls it a schedule, but it's really the daily timetables and it'll show in that space there.
So you could look under Ruby's name and just check and you'd see she's already been marked out for the day for that particular event.
If they don't take their mobile phone on the camp, will they be able to contact us by phone at night time?
So, the question was if your son or daughter doesn't take their mobile phone. Yes, staff have their phones. So if your son and daughter wanted to ring you for whatever reason, whether they're anxious or just need to chat, one of the staff can make that phone call on their behalf, hand the phone over and chat.
And also at these camp places, they all have a phone system for all the attendees. So the last camp before Year 12 actually had a public phone sitting right in the middle of the camp.
Do kids know what public phones are? I'm a bit worried about that. Like, where do you put the money?
They always stood there and banged it. No, it was automatic. It was a public phone that just automatically charged their parents. It was fantastic.
Okay, right. Another question down the front.
Yes, so mine is a tech question. I've got the same camp invitation. My child is in McKillop. I Coley and McKillop, and have already accepted McKillop, and I've
Okay, who's got this one?
There's been a couple of known issues in that space. You only have to answer one, and answering the one to the house that your child's in is spot on. You've done it perfectly. We're trying to work out the underlying cause, but you've done it exactly right.
Okay, thanks for alerting us to that. Any others? Yep, Eamon.
I got a question about uniforms. So, sport uniform should only be worn if there's only 4 PDHP lessons 4 times in a fortnight. Is that right?
Who's going to take that one? Shin, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so it'll come up on their timetable if it's scheduled as stadium, which indicates that they should be wearing their practical uniform. However, this is a space of discussion. So at the moment, if it says stadium, they wear their practical uniform. However, sometimes that may change in terms of if the stadium's booked or whatever. So they do need to be checking their timetable, okay, to make sure.
But it is only the days.
Sorry, yes, it is only the days that they have PE and it says stadium. Does that answer your question? Yes, correct. Sorry, yes.
And then if they're trialling for a sport, often you get lots of kids keen on trialling for sport because they get to wear their PE uniform for a trial. So, you know, you might be lawn bowls. Yep, I'm trialling for that, and away we go. I've got 4 kids. They've all gone through here, and they've all pulled that one. Okay, any other questions there that you'd like to? Otherwise, if you've got something you want to, we'll be around here at the end. Anything, any information that you feel like we haven't covered or would like to cover? Going once, twice. Okay, well, that is a record for us. So we do want to thank you for coming along tonight. It shows your investment in your son and daughter's education, and it's an exciting part for us, especially our new families, for that journey across the next 6 years. As a parent, and we've got 3 parents here, Nick and Heath, children aren't old enough to come to Xavier, but they better. You know, we are very blessed to have a fantastic school, fantastic staff, great house system which supports our students. But please, the most important, and Eamon touched on this before, if you've got any issues, if you've got any concerns, the most important thing is to get in touch with us so that we can act on it early. Okay? Yep, the question was around, does the house, a homeroom mentor follow on every year? And that is correct. So I'm in Dynon 1, and I can see a couple of Dynon 1 parents here. I'll be journeying with those students all the way through to when they finish at HSC. But if you haven't been contacted from your homeroom mentor, that will happen over the next 2 weeks. Okay. Good. Whoop. Yep, we're going again. It's a bit like an auction here. There's a bit late.
Sorry. So we go straight to the homeroom mentor if we have any questions.
Yeah, look, I think if there's anything that you think is just to do with the day-to-day goings, that could be, you know, it might be around, you know, some part of the homework or a issue with a particular subject area or the timetable. Homeroom mentor. If it was a bigger thing that it might be around, you know, maybe an anxiety issue across a number of classes or areas, then the house coordinator would be the best person to speak to in terms of that. So I suppose the smaller things you would send to the homeroom mentor, and then the bigger things to the house coordinator. But both, they'll direct you whichever way that you need to go. Okay. Righto, I'm going to call it there. We are going to be around here for the next whatever. We'll answer every question that's available. But thank you again for coming. Have a lovely night, and we'll see you maybe in week 8 if you want to come along and get some more information around Schoology. Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely evening.